This is one of my sermons based on a series of sermons based on a book I've written called The Emergence of God, the Intersection of Science, Nature, and Technology. In the fall of 2019, Walter Stedman was dead. He had led an ordinary life. He was a banker and a devoted husband with 2 children. His wife said that he was always quiet, on time, and a good father to his kids. His family described him as thoughtful and gentle. Naturally, it was a terrible shock when Walter had been found fatally shot after an attempted bank robbery had gone very wrong. Mitchell Hawkins, or Hawk to his buddies, was a freestyle kind of guy. He rode a motorcycle, enjoyed heavy metal music, and was often found on the other side of a beer mug. His friends called him footloose and carefree, while his many girlfriends said he was fun and crazy in a good sort of way. All that ended one November day when Hawk went missing and was never seen again. The police suspected foul play. The most curious and perplexing thing about these 2 disparate stories of lives ending too early is that the authorities also believed they were connected. Let me tell you another story about the time I moved from Vermont to North Carolina. One day I answered a knock at the front door. A soft-spoken gentleman with a heavy southern drawl introduced himself and welcomed me to the neighborhood. After I thanked him, he went on to say that we in the neighborhood have noticed that you have not cut your lawn in a few days. I explained that I had just started a new job and was very busy. Well, he went on to say, I would be happy to take some time to come over and mow it for you. That is what he said. What he meant to say was, you need to cut your lawn right now before we run you out of the neighborhood. But I didn't know that. Instead, when he offered to mow my lawn, I just said, sure, that would be great. His stone-cold face told me that I had made a terrible mistake. There can be some significant differences between northern and southern cultures, and what I quickly found out was that I needed to learn the art of code switching. Code switching was first identified and studied in people who could easily switch back and forth between multiple languages. Later, it became a method of changing unique or unfamiliar words and phrases to make them more understandable. In religious discussions, code switching has become a way of helping people of different spiritual traditions understand each other. For example, when a Catholic friend of mine says to me that we are all made in God's image, I switch that phrase in my you mind into one I can more closely understand. In my mind, I hear we are all sparks of one universal flame. When my friend says, I pray to Jesus to absolve me of my sins, I think I open my mind and heart to compassion and hope. Each is a cultural expression of a deeper truth. I believe that deep down, every person has the same spiritual needs and aspirations. It's just that years of societal separation has given us different languages and modes of speaking in which to express these yearnings. Code switching is a way to build bridges across unnecessary and unproductive religious divisions. It is unfortunate that we need such a skill, but the truth is that we have been brought up in a world that values separation over collaboration. We form ourselves into disparate groups that each develop their own words and phrases and manners of acting. We are taught that the world is composed of definable opposites such as day and night, right and wrong, male and female, gay and straight, good and bad, or sacred and secular, just to name a few. Perhaps the most egregious in terms of establishing any hopes for a world of peace and compassion is the perceived opposites of the divine and nature. Now, I'm going to give you an opportunity here to practice your own code switching skills. Throughout this sermon, I am going to use the phrase the divine to represent my understanding of the ultimate reality, and nature to represent all physical existence. Feel free to change the word divine to God, goddess, spirit, Newman, mystery of life, or flying spaghetti monster if you so choose. And feel free to change the word nature to Mother Earth, the universe, the cosmos, physical reality, the matrix, or whatever word or phrase that works for you. To continue, I believe the perceived separation of the divine and nature has caused countless years of suffering and misery for humans, animals, and the earth itself. Separation naturally creates a distance between things. Distance between yourself and the divine means that you must look for it. You must work to relate to it, to understand it, to reach out beyond yourself, and ultimately to find your own value. It causes us to see things and other beings as separate from ourselves. It causes us to see some things as holy and others as not so sanctified. It is natural to see this way at first. We perceive that there is us, and then there is everything else, that there is a subject and an object. We experience everything as that which is within versus that which is beyond. And everything is either yours or mine. But this is not the way the world works. Almost everything we know exists on a wide-ranging spectrum between polarities. Day and night are not separate, but merge into each other. Daylight can contain darkness as darkness can hold points of light. Similarly, what might be right for one person may be wrong for another. The same may be true for the terms good and bad, or sacred and secular. We can come to understand that the divine and nature are actually two parts of one complete reality. Nature is what we experience, while the divine is the invisible, yet no less real aspect of that experience. To understand this relationship, consider something as seemingly simple as a seed. Under the right conditions, a seed no bigger than the end of my finger will eventually produce a flower and then possibly a fruit like a pumpkin, much larger than the seed itself. How is that even possible? I find myself in a state of awe just contemplating the idea. It seems almost miraculous. But the real question and enigma is not how this growth happens. We can talk about germination and photosynthesis and cell mitosis and DNA coding and all the rest. But the real question is why it happens at all. Why? Why? Have you ever played the why game? It's very simple. You start out with a simple statement. It can be about anything, and then your young friend who you are playing the game with asks you, why? With each response you provide, you are again asked, why? The thing about this game is that no matter how it begins, continuously asking why always leads you to more and more challenging questions. Usually at some point in the game, the adult becomes so frustrated that trying to provide an answer that they quickly end the game by saying something like, "That's just the way it is." Which means, of course, don't ask me anymore. To bring it back to our little seed, we can ask not just why it is able to do all the things it does, but why does it do anything at all? Why does this tiny pumpkin seed develop into a vine, a flower, a fruit, and back into a seed again? Even if it does not become a plant, it'll become something else, such as food for humans, or birds, or the earth. The only thing it will never do is nothing. How it evolves is due to its nature and is what makes it thoroughly unique. But the why of its existence and transformation is due to its divinity and is what makes it part of everything else. And so it goes for everything, every plant, And so it goes for everything, every plant, every animal, every person, every planet, every galaxy, and every other thing in this enormous universe. All distinctive, all connected, all sacred. That is the wondrous mystery and miracle of this shared life. In the story about the investigations of the deaths of Walter, the soft-spoken banker, and Hawk, the carefree biker, an interesting fact led the police to believe that the two cases were intimately connected. It turned out that Walter and Hawk were actually one person who led two different lives. During the week, Walter tended to the bank and his family, while during frequent work trips, Walter became the wild and wayward Hawk. The world saw two separate and unique individuals when in reality there was only one. It is possible to have one divine source that is expressed through a mosaic of diversified forms. It is possible to understand this one fount of life through a variety of perspectives. It is possible to say the same truth through a cacophony of interpretations. That is how code switching can be helpful in understanding other viewpoints. Why is it so hard to see this unity at the base of all diversity? Why is it so hard to hear the calm whisper of connectedness amidst a howling of opinions? Why must there be so many divergent trails leading from one basic source? Why? Why? Because that's just the way it is. In the name of that which you hold in your heart to be most sacred, may it be so.